What's happening, everybody? Is the NCAA dead man walking with the SEC and Big Ten coming together? Also, we'll catch up with Alabama linebacker Chris Braswell. Locked on SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. All right, we're going to catch up with Alabama outside linebacker Chris Braswell, but first, more on the SEC and Big Ten coming together, and so let's dive into it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Takes the handoff. What a catch!
Around the conference.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this on yesterday's show, but some more details kind of coming out in what exactly is going to happen here. The SEC and Big Ten committing to the college football playoff for the long haul. That may be in jeopardy if some big issues are not rectified. Speaking with Yahoo Sports yesterday, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey and Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti, they expressed their doubts concerning their respective leagues' commitment to the CFP and its governance if they struggle to iron out details surrounding the future format of the playoffs. The current college football playoff contract expires after the 2025 college football season, so conferences would theoretically be free to explore other postseason options if they do not reach an extension. Now, Greg Sankey saying yesterday, he said, yes, we're committed for now, but we've got a lot to get right. The commitment is we want to see this get right. We have the reality of needing to deal with CFP governance with the 2026 season and beyond. That is a highly important issue. So the previous model they agreed to, remember, had 6 auto bids for the 6 highest-ranked conference champions, and then 6 at-large berths, and that was all expected to be amended in January, but that amendment was never finalized. According to Yahoo Sports, Petitti pitched expanding the playoff from 12 teams to maybe 14 or 16, with multiple automatic qualifiers for some of the major conferences. So like the SEC is guaranteed 2, the Big Ten's guaranteed 2, and so on and so forth. The College Football Playoff Management Committee, along with FBS commissioners, Notre Dame AD Jack Swarbrick, they are meeting again today. They met yesterday in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to go over a lot of these topics. And, of course, this comes on the heels of just last week, the SEC and the Big Ten, who are forecasted to only pull further away from the rest of the FBS conferences from a revenue standpoint. They formed that advisory group to, as Greg Sankey said, address the significant challenges facing college athletics. It was perceived as a coded threat to the NCAA that, hey, we're the 2 wealthiest conferences. We could go in our own direction if the governing body overseeing college athletics fails to tackle a lot of the key issues facing the sport, like transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, so on and so forth. So as of this coming season, the SEC and the Big Ten will boast a combined 34 schools. Of course, that's 16 in the SEC, 18 for the Big Ten, and overwhelmingly account for some of college football's biggest premier brands. And so this is just another domino to fall here, meeting to discuss the future of the college football playoff. SEC and Big Ten hold a lot of the cards here. From Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports last night, he said they are expected to formally approve the format changes to the expanded playoff in light of the Pac-12 disbanding, and that'll move to what's called a 5+7 format. That'll feature 5 automatic qualifying spots for the biggest conference champs, and then 7 at-large spots for the next highest-ranked teams. So again, it was previously 6+6. Now it'll be 5+7. And they are also expected to adopt a policy requiring a league to have at least 8 members to be eligible to earn an automatic qualifying spot in the playoff. If you remember, Pac-12 was going to try to stay together with just 2 teams. Well, that won't work. You don't get an automatic bid doing that. So the Big Ten and the SEC, like we said, arguably 8 of the top 10 most valuable brands in the sport, are going to urge for the distribution model to further skew towards them as they new Power 2, as Dellinger says, a term widely used to describe college football's behemoth leagues. Look, a lot of people thinking that SEC and Big Ten kind of laying the groundwork here to say if the NCAA ain't getting this done, well, we're out of the NCAA. We're taking our ball and going home, and we're going to just play SEC versus Big Ten. And we'll both expand a little bit more. Paul Finebaum, he was on with Cole Kublik and Greg McElroy on Jocks FM yesterday. And Finebaum said this. He said, I think this is an inflection point in the history of college sports where the 2 leagues that have the most of the power, almost all the power, have decided to join hands and start collectively making important decisions. He says, as opposed to sitting back and allowing the NCAA office or somebody in the West Coast who really has little voice, I think it's significant because there's a major shift where the relationship has been between the 2 leagues. Finebaum went on to talk about Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti coming together because they had a previous relationship. He said, I think they looked at each other and said, we have all the power in the sport on the football field and almost every other sport. Why don't we try to figure some things out together? Because it's too late to let everyone else make these decisions or try to make these decisions for us. I think ultimately nobody's making these decisions, and that's why they've come together. Lastly on this, Greg McElroy, in the same segment with Finebaum, said, how fast could this pull away? What's stopping the SEC and the Big Ten from saying, yeah, we're just going to go start our own playoff? And you guys can battle for that CFP trophy all you want. We're going to start our own thing, and then we're going to crown a champion from the 34 member institutions that are under our umbrella. And if you're out, so be it. Finebaum said as something every other league and major program outside of the SEC and Big Ten has to fear. He said, why can't they pick and choose a few more schools to make it even more legitimate than it already is? That's where I think the ACC has to be shivering right now because they're in court right now fighting Florida State. You have to believe Clemson, North Carolina, and others are going, hey, do we really want to get stuck in this boat or do we want to get out? Let's call the SEC. Let's call the Big Ten. Let's go jump ship. So going to be fascinating. Again, this very well could be the start of the domino to fall where we see the SEC and Big Ten separate from the NCAA and say, we're going to go play each other in all the sports and everybody else, see you later. NCAA, man, back is against the wall. You guys got to get this right. But again, the dominoes to fall of the college football playoff as well. SEC and Big Ten kind of hold all the power here. Kudos to them for getting together. All right, a couple other nuggets here. Over at Missouri, their athletic program announced Monday a historic gift to support renovations to Memorial Stadium and the Tiger Fund program. It's the largest gift received by Mizzou athletics in the history of the school for $62 million from an anonymous donor. Now, $50 million of that will go to modernize Memorial Stadium. Their AD said that the remaining $12 million will go toward the charitable program through the Tiger Scholarship Fund that benefits Mizzou student athletes, i.e. kind of NIL stuff. But the $62 million commitment is more than double Mizzou Athletics' prior record gift received back in 2012. Their AD said this extraordinary commitment is a major step toward fulfilling our vision to transform Memorial Stadium and create the best college football game day atmosphere in the country. Of course, the rest of that money will go towards valuable resources for Mizzou's 550 student athletes and help them out. So really a huge number there. And who's the anonymous donor? $62 million. Good Lord. One other note here over Georgia, quarterback Carson Beck talking with Aaron Murray on a video for the Georgia Collective, asked about his decision to forego the NFL draft and come back and play another year at Georgia. He said, I hadn't been able to play in so long to have the opportunity to go out and play the game I love again. And you never know what's going to happen if you do leave and you make that decision to go to the draft and do all these things. What do I have to lose? Come back and let's do it all over again. Carson Beck said his decision also makes it difficult to know he'll be the starter after he went into last season, not knowing about that call until 2 weeks before the start of the year. He said, how do I work even harder than I ever have before? How do I still maintain that hunger even coming off a season where I thought that I did pretty well? Well, he said it's about fighting complacency and finding that leadership role. And Carson Beck going to be one of those guys. And Georgia is going to be the better of it with him coming back for another season. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, some more tidbits going on around the conference. We've got some recruiting nuggets and much more. All that coming your way in just a second. Well, first, I want to remind you this episode presented to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It is Super Bowl week. Happy Super Bowl week to all those who celebrate. From FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And if you're like me, look, Super Bowl Sunday is all about having fun with friends, whether you're on your couch or watching a game at a buddy's place, enjoying all your favorite football snacks. You're going to be placing some big bets as well. And that's where FanDuel's got you covered. So many different ways to end the season with a W. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl, they got the lines, all of that for you. If you like Kansas City as the underdog, still sitting as the underdog up there, FanDuel. You could jump on the Chiefs to beat the Niners straight up. And, of course, a reminder, our new customers over at FanDuel, you join today, you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just go to visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. And let's get started. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And, of course, they got all the action up there for you on this Super Sunday right there at FanDuel. Go check them out again, FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, run along here, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Going back tomorrow on the show, we'll have some more of our great interviews with a lot of the former SEC players we caught up with at the Senior Bowl just last week. We'll have our conversation with Chris Braswell from Alabama coming up in just a few minutes. But first, we want to continue on with our tidbits going on around the conference as we typically do. Next up, we stop off over at Ole Miss as Monday, the Rebels landed a commitment from JUCO wide receiver Janoris Hobson. Played last year at Northwest Community College over there in Mississippi. Did sign with Mississippi State out of high school, but spent a spring and a season at Mississippi State where he was redshirted before he transferred out to Northwest Community College. He will have 3 seasons of eligibility remaining. Last year, he had 37 catches for 463 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's 5'11", 175 pounds. Was recruited to Ole Miss by George McDonald. And not clear how many other commitments, or rather if his commitment affects the recruitment of his younger brother, Jacoby. But he said, he told 24/7 Sports, I would say none at all. I don't have anything to do with him. What he has going on, whatever he does is based on his decision. Whatever I do is on my decision. Hopefully, I would hope we want to do something, but it's completely out of each other's control when it comes down to what we do. So this happens sometimes. Teams will take the older brother on to get the younger brother or vice versa. Think back to LSU years ago. They wanted Leonard Fournette, also offered Leonard Fournette kind of to take care of the brother, have them there. So we'll see what happens here. But Janoris Hobson, obviously productive last year at the community college level. See if he plays a factor at Ole Miss this coming season. Over at LSU, Brian Kelly reshuffling some things on his staff. The latest move, they're going to part ways with John Jancic, who was LSU's defensive line coach last year. Wilson Alexander of The Advocate there in Baton Rouge reporting Jancic no longer a member of the staff. If you remember, Brian Kelly let 4 of his defensive coaches go last month. They did retain John Jancic, but that was only for a couple of weeks. His role changed when Jimmy Lindsey was away from the team dealing with health issue. Jancic jumped in and helped out. But at LSU, he was elevated to special teams coordinator and outside linebackers coach in the spring, and did serve as a defensive analyst the year prior. But they'll be moving on, so we'll see where John Jancic ends up. He's been in a number of different SEC stops throughout the years. Over Kentucky, they got a commitment from a future wide receiver in the class of 2025, Quentin Simmons Jr., 6 foot tall, 175 pounds, had a number of offers, but even with the departure of Liam Cohen, the OC who just left for the NFL to go to the Tampa Bay Bucks, they picked Quentin Simmons Jr. Cornerback Terrian Nichols, who was a signee in this year's class, he is a teammate of Quentin Simmons. So he's a multi-sport athlete, runs track and field, rated as a 4-star prospect in the 24/7 composite, the number 30 wide receiver and the number 10 recruit from the state of Ohio in the class of 2025. So that is the second commitment for Kentucky in that class, joining quarterback Stone Saunders. All right, other tidbits going on over at the Senior Bowl, of course. Bo Nix, former Auburn quarterback, now Oregon quarterback. He is coming off a strong week at the Reese's Senior Bowl. So did Spencer Rattler, among a lot of the other SEC guys. But Matt Miller at ESPN putting out his first 2-round mock draft following the Senior Bowl. And he's got 17 SEC stars in his grouping, including 11 SEC players to go in the first round. The notables he's got Malik Neighbors from LSU going 5th overall. Jaden Daniels from LSU going in the top 4. He also has Bama DB Terrion Arnold going 8th. Bama linebacker Dallas Turner going 11th. Georgia tight end Brock Bowers going 14th. And the rest of the first round, he's got Ennis Rakestraw, Brian Thomas, Amarius Mims, Kool-Aid McKinstry, J.C. Latham, and Darius Robinson. Also has Bo Nix going 12th overall to the Denver Broncos. So pretty cool there to see so much SEC talent projected to go in the first round. And like we said, 17 SEC players projected to go in the first 2 rounds of this year's draft. Over at Alabama, Kalen DeBoer reportedly bringing in a familiar face to T-Town. Football Scoop reporting that Washington co-defensive coordinator and linebackers coach William Inge is set to join DeBoer's staff. He's expected to coach up the Alabama linebackers. Inge turned 50 in December, has several decades of coaching experience, familiarity with DeBoer, worked with him, or also worked with Kane Womack as well when they were all at Indiana together. So a lot of familiarity there. So rounding out the staff. A few other Bama nuggets here. Former Alabama OC Bill O'Brien, who signed on to be Ohio State's offensive coordinator just a couple weeks ago. According to the Boston Herald, Bill O'Brien in advanced talks to become the new head coach at Boston College. Rich Thompson writing that the two sides are down to discussing minor details. So we'll see if Bill O'Brien ends up jumping ship that quickly. Going to be the OC at Ohio State, and now rumors he could go be the head coach at Boston College. It's kind of funny because same thing kind of happened with Ryan Grubb from Washington. He comes over from Washington to be the OC at Bama, and then rumblings that maybe the Seahawks could steal him away and all this kind of stuff. So never is a dull moment in the world of college football. One other note here, former Alabama standout Vinny Sunseri is expected to join Washington's new coaching staff. Bruce Feldman reporting that the Huskies are going to add the former Crimson Tide safety. So Vinny Sunseri, a name very familiar there with Tide fans. And a couple of SEC hoops nuggets here. South Carolina, been one of the hottest teams in college basketball. They were finally rewarded on Monday, jumping into the AP top 25. They came in at number 15 in the poll. Tennessee led the SEC at ranked 6th. Auburn was 12th, Alabama 16th, Kentucky 17th. And the Gamecocks, they upset Kentucky last week when they were ranked number 6. But they were sitting at basically like number 26, like they were just on the outside of the top 25 looking in. But this week they get in there. So congrats to the Gamecocks. Joe Lunardi has 9 SEC teams making the NCAA tournament in his latest bracketology. Nearly half of those teams are on the bubble watch, though. He has Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Florida all in the last 4 buys section on the bubble. He has Tennessee as a 2 seed, Bama as a 3 seed, and Auburn as a 4 seed. And so that would leave Kentucky and South Carolina as the other SEC teams getting in. And also Monday, the SEC named their players of the week. Auburn, big man Johnny Broom. He averaged 15 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks last week with wins over Vanderbilt and Ole Miss. And then Kentucky freshman guard Rob Dillingham last week averaged 27 points against Florida and Tennessee. He's the 4th different UK freshman to receive SEC freshman of the week honors this season. So Cal playing a lot of good freshmen and getting good play from them. By the way, Johnny Broom recorded his 55th career double-double for Auburn. So congrats to those guys. There you have it. You were all caught up with everything going on around the conference. Coming up next is going to be our conversation with Alabama linebacker Chris Braswell from the Senior Bowl as he gets ready to take his game to the next level. That's coming your way in just a sec. First, I want to remind you guys, passion, drive, and patience is what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors, They got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. They got roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, superchargers, all of that and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors, they've got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you're always going to find exactly what you're looking for. And with that eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need, for all the prices that you want, it is easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that victory. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. One more time, that's ebaymotors.com. Of course, covering your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Just last week at the Senior Bowl, we were able to catch up with a number of SEC guys leaving the SEC and taking their talents to the next level, heading to the NFL. One of those guys was Alabama outside linebacker Chris Braswell. Got to sit down with or stand up really with him a couple of days ago at the Senior Bowl. So we figured bring you that conversation, talked about Nick Saban's announcement and much more. Here was our conversation with Chris Braswell. Been catching up with a lot of the SEC guys here at the Senior Bowl and catching up with Chris Braswell of the Alabama Crimson Tide. I want to talk about you. I want to talk about the season you had. I want to talk about all this, but I got to start with friggin' Nick Saban. What in the world takes the world by storm and announces he's retired? How selfish of him. I'm just kidding. But, we were all shocked.
Yeah, I was. I was shocked as well. Didn't think he was going to retire. Thought he was going to coach till the wheels fell off. But ultimately, I'm happy for him. He's put in a lot of great work and coached a lot of great guys, put a lot of guys into the league, developed a lot of guys on and off the field. So ultimately, I'm happy for him that he retired. I hope he enjoys his life, but I know he's still going to be around football for sure.
I know the guys, he had a team meeting, and he said he decided a few minutes before he told them. But how did you find out? We talked to Justin Aboigbe. It's like the rest of you guys that are already moving on. Y'all were all kind of finding out like we were.
Yeah, I found out on Twitter and ESPN. I honestly thought it was fake. So I had to call around and kind of confirm to see if it was real. And it was real.
It's kind of cool, though, that you'll be that last class, that last team that Nick Saban ever coached. He's going to go down as the GOAT, and you were part of that.
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing to be able to be coached last by the GOAT. And I definitely will cherish the moments and remember all of the times that he yelled at me, told me I did good. Just everything overall with Coach Saban. It was a blessing playing for him.
It's funny, I've been reading a lot of the mock drafts and draft preparation, all this, and Dallas is getting his roses, and Dallas had an awesome career and an awesome year and all this. But I'm also going, don't forget about Chris Braswell now. This guy, you were just as impactful throughout the year and the sack totals and all that. But talk a little bit about your season and how it played out for you.
I was fortunate enough to be able to play as a full-time starter this past year and took full advantage of that opportunity. Coming into the season, I was telling myself that I have this opportunity in front of me, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to execute it. And, I'm also going to get everything that I can out this season. And also, on top of that, help my teammates out and, ultimately get to the main goal, which was the Natty, which we fell short, but we still was able to accomplish a lot of goals.
What was that game like out there against Michigan? I mean, look, they go on to win the national championship, but that environment just seemed rocking, perfect weather, all that kind of stuff. It was just, to come up that short, I'm sure probably still sticks in y'all's minds.
Yeah, we played a great Michigan team. It was a lot of great competition on the field. The atmosphere at the Rose Bowl was phenomenal. One of the best atmospheres that I ever played in my career.
Talk a little bit about this defense this year, and you guys obviously had a lot of big pieces back with Kool-Aid and Malachi and all these different guys. What was there a certain point in the season where everything started clicking? You said, we got a special group here?
Yeah, we always knew that we had a special group, even before the Texas loss and everything like that. We kind of knew that coming into camp, just the way how guys were executing and flying around to the ball. We felt like we were very special from the beginning.
It feel like, though, that Texas loss kind of reset everything. Is that kind of what it like in the locker room? You guys kind of, hey, everything we want to play for is still ahead of us.
Yeah, we kind of, after the Texas and after the USF game, we kind of had a coming moment and we wanted to, execute.
Talking with Chris Braswell, as you go through everything here this week with Senior Bowl, what are you hearing the aspects of your game that you need to kind of work on, or pros and cons of your game getting ready for the next level?
Just everything, can never be great, there's always room for improvement. So, I just want to go out there and improve every aspect of my game, whether it's something I feel like I'm good at, bad at, or whatever case may be. I also want to go out there and, pick coaches' brains and, want them to be able to tell me if something that they see that I'm doing wrong.
I'm close over there with the team in Houston, and Will Anderson Jr. had quite a nice season as a rookie year for him. How much did you watch what Will was doing, and how happy were you guys to see the kind of season he had as a rookie?
Yeah, I was definitely happy for Will. That's my guy. Definitely watched a lot of his NFL games, watched his tape and everything like that, seeing how relentless he was during those games and everything. And I ultimately was happy for him.
He won a playoff game as a rookie already. It's crazy.
That's phenomenal. That guy has that winning mentality.
Did it in Tuscaloosa, where, I mean, obviously you guys on a Sunday, it's kind of day you're looking back on the game from Saturday, but like, I got to think there's some folks over there watching the Houston Texans now with D'Amico Ryans there and all the former Alabama guys, Toa, Christian Harris, all these dudes.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably now it is a very big fan base of probably in Tuscaloosa of Texan fans now, and might continue to grow or it might trend to another team. We got a lot of Bama guys that get drafted to the same team each and every year.
We'll see where Chris Braswell ends up. I saw Texans GM out there earlier today. Talk a little bit about this Alabama team. Kalen DeBoer, what did you think of the hire, and what are you hearing from your teammates and how excited they are to get going for next season?
I'm hearing that he was a great hire. A lot of the guys on the team, they love him, love his coaching style, love that he's young and bringing a different aspect to the game.
The tough part is, like, no matter who you hire, it's going to be a tough situation because you're replacing the GOAT, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be hard, but I feel like he can get the job done. I don't think Alabama would have hired anybody that they thought that couldn't do it.
Seems like, though, they have a good foundation of leaders coming back, from Jalen to Malachi to Deontay. All these guys announced that they're coming back. That's going to help the transition, right?
Yeah, we got a great amount of leaders that's coming back at Alabama, and at the end of the day, too, is the Bama standard still remains at Bama, so I don't think anything will change.
When you talk about the Bama standard, what's a regular practice like under Nick Saban, or what was it like? I mean, from what I've heard, very regimented, everything is planned out.
Yeah, everything is planned out. We are a very organized organization. Everything is organized, everything is on time, and it was definitely hard practices, but ultimately, it sets you up to be in positions like how I am and a lot of my other teammates are, and future guys that are in that predicament as well.
Chris, what's he going to do now? He's not going to be content fishing and stuff. Like, he's going to have to be doing something.
I feel like Coach Saban's still going to be around the game. He's going to have an office in the stadium, which I heard. I'm quite sure he's going to be at practice. I think he's going to be at spring. Like, I'm not sure, but I know he's going to be around the game of football.
Yeah, you won't be able to keep him away. He'll be.
You won't be able to keep him away. The love and the drive that they have for the game. I don't think he's going to get away from it.
Yeah, he'll go stir crazy. He'll be telling Miss Terry, I got to go do something. One more for you, Chris Braswell. Looking back at your time in Tuscaloosa, what are you going to miss most?
Just going out there, running on the field and seeing 100,000 fans, cheering on for you and the crowd and the environment. Roll Tide, and shout out to all the Alabama fans out there.
And the red lights flashing, Dixieland Delight playing. I mean, that gets you all fired up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It gets everybody fired up, especially the defensive guys.
Chris, best of luck at the next level, man, and we'll be rooting for you, all right?
I appreciate that.
All right.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again to Chris Braswell of Alabama. That is going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Come on back tomorrow on the show. We'll be talking all about more of the SEC Big Ten partnership and what's going on there. Did they come to a resolution with the college football playoff and the future there? So check that out. Also, go make your second listen. Check out Locked On's 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. First ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's called Locked On Sports Today. Just search that on YouTube. You'll find it streaming 24/7 with all the latest news going on around the sports world. Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. We will talk to you guys tomorrow.